Hi, this is Ada, and in this short lecture, we will make an overview of ghosting behavior, what it is, why it's popular, and why it's toxic, a psychologist's view. What is ghosting? Ghosting is a term used to describe the act of suddenly cutting off all communication with someone, typically in the context of relationships or friendships. It involves completely disappearing without explanation, leaving the other person confused and often hurt. Ghosting can occur in romantic relationships, friendships, or even professional settings. Key characteristics of ghosting. No warning or explanation is given before the person disappears. The ghoster avoids all methods of communication, calls, texts, social media, etc. It leaves the ghosted person in a state of emotional limbo, wondering what went wrong. Why is ghosting so popular? In today's digital age, ghosting has become increasingly common. Several societal and psychological factors contribute to its rise. One, ease of digital communication. Technology makes cutting someone off incredibly easy. A person can block, unfollow, or simply ignore messages with the click of a button, making ghosting a convenient way to avoid difficult conversations. 2, fear of confrontation. Many people find it uncomfortable or anxiety-inducing to have tough conversations, especially when ending a relationship. Ghosting allows them to avoid the confrontation altogether. 3, overwhelming choice culture. In the age of dating apps and social media, people often have an abundance of options. This abundance can make relationships feel disposable, encouraging people to move on quickly without addressing emotional consequences. 4, instant gratification mindset. Modern culture often promotes instant gratification and quick resolutions. Ghosting provides an immediate solution to discomfort, as the ghoster doesn't have to deal with the emotional labor of explaining their actions. 5, emotional detachment. In digital interactions, relationships can sometimes feel less personal or meaningful, making it easier for people to disengage without considering the other person's feelings. Why is ghosting so toxic? From a psychological perspective, ghosting is harmful to both the person being ghosted and the ghoster. Here's why. For the ghosted person, creates emotional confusion. The sudden disappearance leaves the ghosted person with no closure, causing them to replay events and question what went wrong. This can lead to overthinking and self-blame. Triggers feelings of rejection. Ghosting can feel like a deep personal rejection, as the person is left feeling unworthy or unimportant. Erodes trust. Being ghosted can make it harder for the individual to trust future relationships, leading to insecurity or fear of abandonment. Mental health impact. Ghosting can cause symptoms of anxiety, sadness, and even depression. The lack of explanation can exacerbate feelings of helplessness and confusion. For the ghoster, avoidance of personal growth. Ghosting allows the ghoster to avoid difficult conversations and emotional accountability. Over time, this avoidance can hinder their emotional maturity and ability to handle conflict. Reinforces unhealthy communication patterns. By ghosting, the individual reinforces the idea that avoidance is a viable coping mechanism, which can further damage their future relationships. Guilt and regret. Many ghosters feel guilt or shame for their actions, especially if they later recognize the emotional harm they caused. The psychological dynamics behind ghosting. Psychologists suggest several underlying psychological factors that contribute to ghosting behavior. 1, fear of vulnerability. Some people struggle with emotional intimacy and vulnerability. Ghosting becomes a way to protect themselves from the discomfort of emotional connection. 2, attachment styles. Individuals with an avoidant attachment style are more likely to ghost, as they tend to shy away from emotional closeness and conflict. 3, conflict avoidance. People who have difficulty dealing with conflict may use ghosting as a way to escape uncomfortable situations. 4, ego protection. Ghosting can sometimes be a defense mechanism to avoid rejection or to maintain a sense of control. For example, ending the relationship on their terms prevents the possibility of being rejected. 5, lack of empathy. In some cases, ghosting stems from a lack of empathy or disregard for the other person's feelings. The long-term impact of ghosting. Ghosting not only affects immediate relationships, but also has long-term psychological consequences. For the ghosted person, difficulty with closure. Without an explanation, It's hard to process the end of the relationship, leading to lingering emotional pain. Trust issues. Repeated experiences of ghosting can make individuals hesitant to open up in future relationships. Damage to self-esteem. Ghosting can make people feel unworthy of communication or respect. For the ghoster, reputation damage. Ghosting can harm the ghoster's reputation, as others may view them as unreliable or emotionally unavailable. Unresolved emotional baggage. Avoiding conversations prevents the ghoster from learning how to confront and resolve conflicts. How to handle ghosting, psychologist's advice. For the ghosted person, acknowledge your feelings. Allow yourself to feel hurt, confused, or angry. Processing these emotions is essential for healing. Don't blame yourself. Ghosting is a reflection of the ghoster's inability to communicate, not your worth. Seek closure in your own way. Write a letter, even if you don't send it, talk to a trusted friend, or journal your thoughts to process the experience. Focus on self-care. Engage in activities that bring you joy and prioritize your mental well-being. Recognize red flags in the future. Be mindful of communication patterns in new relationships to avoid similar experiences. For the ghoster, take responsibility. Reflect on why you ghosted and consider the emotional impact of your actions. Practice honest communication. Even if it's uncomfortable, having a conversation is more respectful than disappearing. Develop emotional maturity. Work on handling conflict and expressing your feelings openly. Apologize if possible. If you regret ghosting someone, reaching out to acknowledge your behavior can help both parties find closure. To sum up, ghosting may feel like an easy way to avoid uncomfortable situations, but it's a toxic behavior that can have lasting emotional consequences for both the ghosted person and the ghoster. Psychologists emphasize the importance of open communication and emotional accountability to foster healthier relationships. While ghosting has become more prevalent in the digital age, it's essential to recognize its harmful effects and strive for better ways of handling conflict and rejection. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to our wonderful Academists family. Stay tuned, much more to come.